We're at a point now where you have the provisional cast on finished for as many stitches as you need for the pattern, and you have gone and purled back one row, so you're ready to work a knit side row now. What you want to do to start the short row shaping is to knit across to the last stitch, and because this is a worsted weight pattern I'm using here, that's not very many stitches. When we get to the last stitch, we want to do a wrap and turn, which is a way of changing the direction of your knitting. We are going to yarn forward, slip the stitch from the left needle to the right, and turn your work. Subsequent wraps and turns after the first one are going to be different, but this is how you do the first one. Slip that stitch back over to the right-hand needle after you turn your work, and bring the yarn around to the front to wrap this stitch, like that. So purl across to the last stitch this time. Whoops, I just split it there. There we go. We're going to work another wrap and turn on the last stitch on the purl side. To do that, you yarn back, slip that stitch, turn your work, slip the stitch back over to the right-hand needle, and again, work your yarn around so that it wraps that first stitch. Now we're going to knit across to the last stitch from the end. We're going to work a wrap on the second stitch from the end. So you yarn forward, slip that stitch from the left to the right needle, yarn back, slip that stitch back over to the left needle, and turn your work. And the wrap and turn, the whole point of it is to get the working yarn over to the right side so you can continue working off the left needle. So now let's do this on the purl side. I'm going to purl over to the second to the last stitch. I'm going to yarn back, slip the stitch over to the right needle. Also, you always slip as if to purl. You can see that's what I'm doing. I'm going to yarn forward again, slip that stitch back over to the left needle, and turn my work. And this is what you're going to continue doing until you have 5 stitches wrapped on each side. I'll do one more for you here. On the third stitch from the end, yarn forward, slip, yarn back, slip it back over, turn the work. And here we are at the third stitch on the purl side. Yarn back, slip, yarn forward, slip it back to the left needle, and turn your work. So I'm going to do this 2 more times, but we'll go ahead and speed through this. Okay, we're at a point now where we have 5 stitches wrapped on each side for this worsted weight pattern. And our knitting is actually starting to take shape kind of like a toe. You're ready to work a right side row, and we're going to pick up the wraps as we go along and incorporate all of the stitches back onto the needle as live stitches. So the first thing you do is you knit across to the first stitch, the first wrapped stitch that you come to, which will be 5 from the end. 5, it's this one here. You can see the wrap on it. I'm going to pick up that wrap and put it up on the needle with the stitch without twisting it and knit those 2 stitches together. Then I'm going to wrap the next stitch on the needle, which will give it 2 wraps. and turn the work. I'm going to work back to the 5th stitch from the end. There's a tongue twister. 5th stitch from the end on the purl side, and pick up the wrap on that. And because I want to keep the right side of the work looking as tidy as possible, I am going to pick up that wrap on the right side, the opposite of where I'm working, and put it on the needle and purl those two together, and then give the next stitch its second wrap. Now when we come to the stitches, they're going to have 2 wraps on them. So I'm working to the 4th stitch from the end, which has 2 wraps on it. And you can pick up both wraps if you like. I always just pick up one of them and knit them together. You can pick up the second wrap as well and put it up on the needle too. It closes up the hole a little bit if you do. I'm going to wrap the next stitch. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. This is what the side of the toe looks like. This is a really heavy weight of yarn, of course, for socks, but it does make kind of decorative holes along the sides if you only pick up one of the wraps. They're much tighter if you pick up both of the wraps. I don't mind the little holes. I think they're fine. They're kind of decorative. It's also easier only to pick up only one of the wraps instead of both of them. So now I'm going to pick up the wrap on the purl side, and again, because I'm me, I'm only going to pick up one of them. It doesn't hurt the sock at all. It doesn't make it any weaker or anything if you don't pick up both wraps. Okay, and I'm going to do this on the knit side of the work. Pick up that wrap and put it on there. Purl those 2 together and wrap the 3rd stitch. So now you have the gist of that. I'm going to work through the last few wraps so we can go ahead and speed this up. Okay, you have all the wraps picked up, all the stitches are live back on the needles, and it's actually starting to look like a toe now, right? The only thing we have left to do with the toe is to remove the provisional cast on and pick those stitches up as live stitches. Now, in the last video when we did the provisional cast on, I had you put a little knot in the slip knot end because you want to start unraveling your crochet chain from the other end, the not slip knot end, the end where you ended. I'm going to pull out this chain here. Okay, I'm right up to the edge here. The first stitch of the provisional cast on is always a little bit wonky. The yarn actually goes through it. So pick up that first stitch, get it over with. Pull the yarn through it. Okay, now we're ready to start the rest of the stitches. If you'd like, you can pull out one of the cast on so you can see exactly where the stitches are coming from, and quick pick that up and put it on the needle. And then you'll see where they're coming from, and you can just pick up the right leg of each stitch all the way across in the provisional cast on. This is getting pretty tight on my needles, but I'm going to keep going a little bit. Okay. And then, this is the fun part, you get to pull the provisional cast on out. There's a spot where I split the yarn a little bit. It's bound to happen. You're bound to split the yarn when you're doing it. Just break the yarn and keep pulling it through. And when you pull it through, there are your live stitches on the needles. Divide the stitches up half and half between the two needles from the provisional cast on, and you're ready to start knitting the foot in the round. And for that, you just keep knitting, follow your pattern until it tells you to stop for your size foot or until you're a certain distance from the heel. Then you're ready to start the short rows on the heel.